أتاني مرة نزق ليسألني بما دنت، فقلت له أنا رجل أحب الله يا أنت، أتسأل كيف منهاجي أما بالحق آمنت، عباد الله إخواني فكن منهم إذا شئت، وكن معنا على حذر من التفريق إن صنت.
نحمده ونستعين ونعوذ بك من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ثم أما بعد، إن الأصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الحديث هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. I bear witness there's no one worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We send our peace, blessings and salutations upon him, and at the same time we remember the sacrifices and we remember the hard work and efforts of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala ajma'een. Allah, my brothers and sisters, respected teachers and children, if it wasn't for the Sahaba, we wouldn't be worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala today. And I want to remind all the kids again, one final time, that the khutbah has started, so refrain from talking, or else I will not be refraining from punishing. So it's very simple. If you cannot refrain from talking, I will not be refraining from punishing. It is the best time and the best thing that could happen to a Muslim on a Friday, when you are busy with the world that you live in and you're so consumed by everything around you that Allah gave you an opportunity to come and hear some words of Allah. So you can come and to know about your Creator, and you can know about the sacrifices of people that came before us and how they worship God. You know, we're in the month of Rajab, and today or tomorrow is the last day, and there are 4 months which are hurum in Islam, and they're the ones who are sacred months. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, and also tells us that how important these months are. It's if we sin in these months, then the intensity of those sins are greater than done in any other month. It's exactly like talking in a masjid is far worse than talking outside in a classroom. If you're talking in a classroom in your environment where you are not respecting the teachers, it's a sin in itself. But if you're talking in a masjid while people are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's in the greater of that sin. So exactly the month of Rajab and the month of Dhul-Qa'dah and the month of Dhul-Hijjah and the month of Muharram are these months that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made sacred for us. And so if we worship Allah in these months, then we get more rewards as compared to the other months. And again, Ramadan takes the cherry, and it's the month where deeds are multiplied 70 marra, up to 70 times the deeds are multiplied. And it was not required for Ramadan to be called a sacred month because it was the month of Ummah. It was a month of the nation. And it was everyone understood that month. So they did not need any reminder for that. Today I want to talk about one of my reflections from yesterday. We attended a Healthy Mind Forum with high school children. One of the things I saw on that journey, how disconnected we are with the wider community. Islam was something that came to us that wanted us to be transcendent. That when we walked somewhere, people would recognize us not by the books that we're reading, not by the way we look, it's by our character, who we were. And I'll give you a short story before I go into my analogy about yesterday. You know, when Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, he was a man in itself, a mountain. One of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is وَزِنَ إِيمَانَ أَبِي بَكْرٍ وَوُزِنَ إِيمَانَ أَهْلِ الْأَرْضِ لَرَجَعَ بِهِ. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam talks about the iman of Abu Bakr, that if you were to put iman, the faith of Abu Bakr, in a scale, on the mizan, his iman is better than everyone sitting over here, people who were born in the time of Sahaba, people who came after them, and people who will come after us. And you know why he was like that? It's not, yes, we understand he had many characteristics, but Abu Bakr as-Siddiq shined in all the places. And one of the places that he shined was 2 days ago. 1400 years ago, and more than 1400 years ago, about 1441 years ago, to be more precise, when Abu Bakr was coming in the city, and when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was being laughed at, people were laughing at him, and they were making fun of him, and they were screaming on his face, and they were laughing on his face, and they were making a mockery of him. And at that time, from far distance, Abu Bakr was walking, and he was coming, and Abu Jahl caught up to him, and he said to him, "Do you know what? Your friend's gone crazy." He said, "What happened?" He said, "Your friend says he went to Jerusalem in part of the night and he came back. Isn't that crazy?" Remember, there were no planes as you guys have. There were no cars or Lamborghinis or Ferraris. There were horses and camels. Even if you had the fastest camel or horse, it would take you 1 month to get to Jerusalem. And to come back was another one. That's 2 months. And the man is claiming he went there in part of the night. Some da'if narrations also say when he came back his bed was still warm. And again, wallahu alam, but to my research, none of those hadiths are true. But then what we are trying to say, it was only in the part of that night. And mainly these are not hadith, these are the poetry done by some of the scholars. They're just to describe that journey. Yes, we believe he went there in the night, same night, he came back in the same night. We believe that. As a Muslim, we have to believe it. He went with his body and with his soul. It's exactly like how Jesus is in the heaven. Muslims believe Jesus is in the heaven with his body, with his soul. If Allah can do it for Jesus, why couldn't he do it for the messenger that he made as a king for everyone? So now Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is coming back, and you know one question Abu Bakr asks. Remember, if you guys had a friend, let's just say someone over here said, "You know what, I went to Mars and I came back." You know what, don't believe it. To be honest, don't believe it. Even if he's a close friend, and if he's the truthful one, let's just for an argument say he did that journey, none of you will also not believe him. You know what Abu Bakr Siddiq said? He only asked one question. He did not say, did he go, or is it true? He just said, did Muhammad say this? And Abu Jahl said, yes, he's saying it. He said, if he said it, then it's true. He only asked one question. Did Muhammad say it? And he said, yeah, he said it. He said it's true. And that was who Abu Bakr was. Now I'll give you another example of who Abu Bakr is. Something like we need to know really. Sometimes, as to give an analogy, that we have to tell you to be quiet. For people who are not Muslim, if they walk in here, they will think we're preparing for a dance routine or something. That's how much we're excited and jumping up and down. And no one wants to take responsibility and show their manners of masjid or their imam. But let me tell you, Abu Bakr, how he shined every time. On the journey of Hijrah, when they came to Medina, it is mentioned by Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was very tired. People are coming to say salam, to wish him, to talk to him. Abu Bakr saw that, and he did not disturb Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He took the responsibility and he started saying salam to everyone. You know what happened? The people of Medina thought Abu Bakr was Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's what they thought. And you know what? When they started talking, what did they say to Abu Bakr? Anta ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, La, I am not the Prophet. This is the Prophet. When people look at you, now let's come to the real example of this world. We have to tell them that we are Muslims, because we do not tell them by our actions. We're not doing what the messenger told us to do. When people come here, you have to tell them we're about to pray, we're not about to dance. But the Sahabas were not like that. And the Tabi'een were not like that. And the Taba were not like that. They were transcendent. And that's what happened yesterday. Now let's go to yesterday. And you know what people, what Muslims are? We're confident people. We're fearless people. We fear sinning. And we're fearless when it comes to the truth, when it comes to activities. The organizer said, make 2 straight lines. And that's the example, simple. I'm not going to say what did she say to look at and to make 2 straight lines. And I was standing at the back, mashallah, on one side of the room where there was no AIA, it was a straight line. But when you looked at the other side of the room where there was AIA, there was a straight line except for the AIA kids. They were so scared and they were just forming a circle and trying to look for refuge in their own people. And we're so comfortable in this bubble. And then we want to spread our khair. We flex our muscles. We're the best bad guys in the school. I mean, no one messes with us. You just take all those bad guys and you put them in a situation where there's new people. They're the ones who are frightened. They can't even move. Some of you were so frightened to speak that you were just trying to find someone who looked like you. And these activities are there to shine, to tell people who you are. And you know, this is what Abu Bakr did really well. There were only a handful of Muslims in Mecca. Handful. Scholars say it was not even 100. Even then, the Sahabas were not scared to preach what Muhammad was telling. You know, when we went there, let me tell you, we were the majority in that hall. One school bringing 41 students. No other school had that many students. Even then, you could not come back and leave a print on their hearts who you were. We are transcendent people. When we go somewhere, we take our khair with us. And that's why, you know, I always say, Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas. Allah chose us so that we could be those people that whenever we go, we are confident people. You know, we can talk about what we believe. And really, look at us. I mean, it really, and I don't have much time, but it's something that we should reflect upon. You know, you could be the most difficult when it comes to your own people. And you know what? And it is so true. The ones who really are, they act to be like the most macho. And if you put them into a different environment, they could not even last for a few days. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفر الله إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. And very quickly, something that I wanted to highlight today was this is something I want to leave with you guys, that you, wherever you go, you should be known by who you are. And that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he was only sent to perfect our character. Our character is something that we're judged by. It's not about how many Qur'ans you've finished. It's not about how many things you've memorized. That's something to do with your own thing. But when you are a Muslim, you take that forward and you show people who you are. So you know why you see today that we are suffering? We are the best people to put our own people down. And when it comes to really speak up for our rights to others, we cannot do that. And really, if you look at Isra wal Mi'raj, just one journey in that, and one of the journey was a lady was so powerful. She was so powerful. This was a hairdresser of her daughter. And you know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Jibreel, who is this? Who does this grave belong to? And that's a story of courage that you guys should learn to. And Jibreel alayhi salam said, this is the hairdresser of Fir'aun's daughter. And the story, if you guys don't know, very quickly, we don't have much time, is this lady believed in Allah. And she was one day combing the hair of Fir'aun's daughter, and the comb fell on the floor, and she said, Bismillah. And then Fir'aun's daughter said, you mean my dad? She said, no, I mean the Lord of your dad and my dad and everyone over here. And Fir'aun's daughter got really upset. She told her father that this lady believes in some other God. If you guys have read Juz Amma in Surah Nazi'at, Fir'aun clearly says, Ana Rabbukum al-A'la. Like he is saying that he's the highest of the Lord. To build him a place which is the highest place, and he was a man who was feared. There were people, the children of Israel, feared him. No one could stand up against him. Even no man could face him. So, what does this slave lady do when she gets there? Fir'aun asks her a simple question. Who do you believe in? And she says, the courage of this lady. She says, I believe in the one who created you and the one who created everyone and me. And Fir'aun says, get her children. And he orders a big bowl with boiling oil in it. And she says, who do you believe? He says, who do you believe, to the ladies? She says, I believe in Allah. They put the first son in that boiling water. And the next thing you know, within minutes, the bones are floating on the top. And now he says, who do you believe in? And she says, I believe in Allah. They put the other one in, same happens. And he says again, who do you believe in? And they put the third one in, same thing happens. And he says again, who do you believe in? And now it's the little baby. Now she's a bit reluctant to say, because now she's thinking about this little baby, little child. And so the child speaks and she says, Mum, do not give up. Say you believe in Allah. Because me and you, we are the successful ones. And the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, 4 babies spoke from the cradle. And this was one of them. And so the lady says, I believe in Allah. And you know what happens is, Quran puts the baby in that bowl as well. And same thing happens to her. The mother cries. And before they're about to put the mother in, because she's not going to back off from her belief, she says, can I ask you a favor? When we die, every bones, whatever is left over from that oil, can you bury all of us together? So on the day of judgment, when Allah resurrects us, we all come from the same place. And Fir'aun, the kings of back in the day, the arrogant ones, you know what? Your last wish is accepted. And they put her in that same oil, boiling oil, and she meets her Lord. And she stood up with courage because she believed in him. And my lesson to you guys is, you all believe in Allah. What makes you so fearful? No one is saying to start, fighting or quarreling people. What I am saying, that you were ones who were to spread the khair. When you were told to engage with people, you show how confident you are. To be confident over here, to jump up and down and to roll like monkeys is okay, It's a protected environment. But what happens to us when we go outside? What happens to us when we speak to the media? What happens to us when someone else calls us and we have to talk our mind? That's what courage is. That's a lady, a slave, who spoke courage. None of us are slaves over here. We're all free people. Even then, when the time comes, we cannot speak for ourselves, and we can stand up for courage, and we can't even defend ourselves. And that's what my real lesson to you guys today is. That you will be in difficult times, but don't give up on your faith. And start from this place. When next time, and I've said it a million times, and you know what, if I had $1 for every time I said it, I'd probably be living in the Bahamas today, and I didn't have to work anymore. But you know what, I'll say it again. When you come again to this place, do it for Allah. And if the next person comes and talks to you, and just say to him, you know what, be quiet. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما اعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا بفضلك شر ما قضيت فانك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى اليك فانه يذل من ولعت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعالى.